What's up, guys? So this video is just going over the differences between purple and legendary variants of the weapons in the BR mode, Perception Forest. I do kind of compare them to the non-BR versions also, I think for every weapon or just about every weapon, but this is mainly just a quick rundown of what they do in the mode, so I'm summarizing everything as best I can. Keep note, I might not be 100% correct on everything, as I did proofread this myself. But, of course, as everyone knows, proofreading your own work isn't the best ever, typically, as we learned in school. I basically just got the weapons, tried them, and then, yeah, that's it. You guys can pause to reread if you're confused, and also let me know if I'm wrong in the comments about something, as not every description is very intuitive. Also, give me feedback, and I would appreciate if you guys would like and subscribe if you did like this video, since this actually, guys, this took me a long time to do. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of embarrassing, but it did. This video is aimed towards newer players or people just trying to get into the mode for the first time. Also, please let me know what other Perception Forest content you want, as no one else is making content for this. That's why I'm doing this. No one else is doing this, as far as I can tell on YouTube. I do want to apologize if the editing is a bit scuffed. I am not good at it at all yet. Thanks for watching the video if you do. Later. The epic Thundercry blade launches blade energy forward when you use the charge attack. You get fortitude during this, which makes you immune to all but crowd control. The charged attack has 3 stages with more damage each stage. And at the 3rd stage, it consumes 1 stack of Fighting Spirit. And the Wind Vortex ability and the Shield ability are also the same as outside of the VR. The legendary variant of the Thundercry blade makes it so when you use your Wind Vortex ability, it will suck the enemies in and launch them into the air. People can also get out of this faster if they press directional keys, so keep that in mind. This is actually disgustingly broken, by the way. So, very broken. The epic Noname Spear does the same typical stuff that it does outside of the BR, except the Q stun for the purple Noname in this mode will stun targets in a large area, plural, meaning more than one. The F key also causes a debuff on the target, making them take high damage after 10 seconds. It doesn't put you into an unrivaled state like the version outside of the BR does, so keep that in mind. The legendary variant of the Noname Spear makes it so whenever you use your Q, it spawns fire on the ground that does dot damage. It still stuns multiple enemies in the area with the Q, and that dot does a lot of damage. The epic Ninefold Umbrella's charge skill makes you go invisible. That's the special thing about it. And does AoE when you do the charge skill. And then the 2nd stage of the charge skill hurls your umbrella at people and does damage. Keep in mind, more charged equal longer range and damage. And this weapon does seem a bit different compared to the non-VR version, at least the playstyle. So the only difference between the legendary Ninefold and the epic Ninefold is the legendary variant just gives you life still when you do your charge attack. The epic Name of Sword is basically the same as the non-BR version, but the BR version's charge attack freezes enemies. Keep in mind, more charge equal more damage and range, like the non-BR version. The charge freeze for the legendary variant of the Nameless Sword lasts way longer. This is how I perma-freeze people in the clips/videos you've seen. The Q slashes for this one also do quote-unquote massive damage, according to the text. The Q does an extra slash, and the key, or Queef Shield, that lasts for 3 seconds absorbs the next 3 instances of damage. Okay, so I do need to do a quick note. The Stormbreaker situation is a bit different. You'll notice these are two different variants. The epic version says Edge, and the legendary will say Radiance. I don't know if the Edge has a legendary variant, or Radiance has an epic variant. Every single legendary Stormbreaker I've gotten has been Radiance, and every single epic has been Edge. So I'm just going to assume that there's only two Stormbreaker spears total in this game mode. So one epic and one legendary, and these are it. The epic Stormbreaker does the same stuff as the non-BR version of Stormbreaker, but the damage reduct is 40% always in this mode. And then you get Fortitude from the skills. The F key also silences targets instead of Fortitude the non-BR version gives you, but it does still apply the vulnerability. The Q skill for the legendary variant of the Stormbreaker gives you the unrivaled buff if you use the Q skill again, which does things like speed up your charge attack. Every time I've tested this, it's never visually given me a buff. Unless I'm just blind, which is possible. It should be the same unrivaled buff you get from the Noname spear outside of the BR. You also get an extra 20% damage reduct compared to the Epic Edge Lunar variant. I've also never seen any quote-unquote transformation occur, even if I take a lot of damage, so I'm not actually sure what that even means in the tooltip. The Epic Healing Fan does standard stuff in this mode, except it knocks enemies away with a Q, and the charge skill does a dot. Also, keep in mind you cannot revive people in this mode with the Healing Fan for either variant. So the differences between the legendary variant of the Healing Fan and the epic Healing Fan are the Q heals allies within range for a large amount of HP instantly, along with the hot healing over time that the Q provides. It's basically like Regrowth in World of Warcraft, whereas the purple one is just Rejuvenation. Tooltip for the epic strategic sword for the Q adds quote-unquote AoE damage to it. So that's the main difference for the purple strategic versus the one that's outside the BR. And the charge effect does a stagger effect, aka the same freeze as the Nameless Sword does. Spoiler, it's just not nearly as long. So the legendary strategic sword is actually insanely fun. Whenever you hit 2 or more enemies with your charge skill, the next cast is instant. This is insanely fun in duels. Plus, also the freeze stagger seems to be the same time between this and the purple version. And no, you cannot do the same perma freeze with this as the Nameless Sword. It might be possible every time I've tested it. This doesn't happen. They can actually move or get out. Okay, so the Soulshade Umbrella I think is the worst weapon in the entire game. It took me like several games to even know what the purple and legendary variants were doing. I think they're basically the same, they just do a knock-up. The charge skill also sends 3 umbrellas that lock onto a target to do area damage, and it does extend their exhaustion if they already are. I won't go much more into detail about this weapon, since it's legitimately terrible in my opinion. The important thing, or the nice thing to know, is that it does give allies a 15% damage buff, but you're probably only going to be using this for the last circle to survive for the healing if your fan is on CD. So kind of the difference between the legendary Soulshade and the epic variant is just the healing damage. But this one does heal a target with the lowest HP in a large area over time. That's the difference. The other one doesn't heal a large area. This weapon is just so bad. So the epic Inkwell Fan variant, the difference between this and the non-BR version is this Q for this weapon creates 4 wind barriers, and the F key knocks up 1 player and does a quote-unquote ultra-long distance dash. That's it. The legendary variant of the Inkwell Fan just knocks up more than 1 enemy and does area damage. That's the difference. The only differences I could see between the epic Heavenquaker spear and the non-BR version is the fact that the charge skill pierces targets and gives you different buffs. The non-BR version gives you fortitude, while this one gives you ultimate armor during the charge attack. The ultimate armor's buffs tooltip says damage reduction, so it might be a weird translation error or issue, or something like the Noname Spears buffs mistranslation, but it gives you damage reduction by 50% and immunity to crowd control effects. The Q skill gives you the same buffs as the non-VR version does. Also, it's the same situation as the Stormbreaker Spears. The Radiance is legendary and the Edge is epic. So the legendary Heavenquaker Spear is a bit weird because there's nothing indicating this version is different. Besides, they added quote-unquote damage reduction to the tooltip while you're doing the charge skill. So I'm only going to be showing one bow, the blazing bow or the explosive bow. No other bow actually matters. You also find this every match. The other variants, so epic, etc., just do less damage, I believe, since it's extremely hard to know if it staggers more or not, depending on the variant. But this bow is extremely broken. It's ridiculously broken, guys. The reason why it's broken, it just staggers, like you're going to see right here. It just staggers.